everyone. Welcome to a version of Unhinged with two strangers who happen to do marketing and branding things.
This is gonna be like a new thing, I feel. It's kind of fun. So we're coming into this completely unprepared
Very
for
unprepared.
and entirely unprepared. This is basically how the conversation went. So we like connected on LinkedIn like maybe a week ago, maybe not even. We sent a few messages back and forth, and I could just tell like right away. I was like, "There's something about this woman that I'm like, I just like your vibe." And then I was like, "Wouldn't it be fun if we just went live and just had this initial first meeting?" We have not met. I have not spoken to you
No, we
face to
have
face
never met
until
each
now.
other.
Yeah.
Um, and I love that my response to you, because something's wrong with the mic in my car, came
Yeah.
through complete like no sound.
There was no sound on the response. So I was like, I hope that's a tech glitch. And she's just not like, no, go away, you weirdo. And then she was like, no, the short version is, yes, let's do it.
Yes, because I said it was a whole like minute long, and I was like, I was in traffic. I
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah. And then so then you're like, yes, let's do it. And then I was like, cool, great. So like, like tomorrow. And she was like, yep, here's the link. And here we are. And that's literally as fast as it happened. But I thought that it would be really interesting because we started talking a little bit about this idea of authenticity and kind of what it means and like, showing up as your true,
Full
messy,
self.
unfiltered. I think the first message you sent me, you were still in bed, and I was like,
Always.
"I love this already." And but then you were talking about how someone kind of criticized you for saying like or for being too polished.
Oh my gosh, I get so many. You know what? Takes a left-hand turn. How many left-hand turns until it becomes a right turn? We will count and find out. Um, we've gone left this way. All right,
Yeah.
cool. I get a lot of coded language because of my appearance. So it's like it could be polished. It could be like, "Oh, you're so pretty." Like you can't be intelligent. Like so many weird things that you know and I laugh because if I'm teaching something, I get into very much a zone, like a zone. And so maybe I do come across more polished, but I've been doing speech and debate, and like both of us have done theater for such a long time that I don't even think about it anymore. I just
Yeah.
transition. And
Yeah.
so when I'm speaking and I'm not conversing like we're conversing right now, I guess it can come off polished. I don't know. I
Yeah.
still feel authentically and fully myself, just
Yeah.
a thinking version of myself, and it is what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. And it's like, is it less authentic to be like on, in that polished zone, in that like, switched on, than to be in your pajamas in bed. I don't know. But,
I
but
mean,
there's
I
like
feel
something
like
that
I
people
would
expect to see.
I mean, I would show up both ways.
Yeah.
One of my best friends here at home is will tell anybody who will listen. Raylan has two modes: sweatpants or stilettos. You will not get anything in between. I don't even think anything in between exists in her closet.
That's fair enough. I love
Oh
that.
my goodness. All right, but I have to say, I overly fangirled when you said you were on the Mean Girls, like an extra on Mean Girls. And the fact that you were in the scene at all, whether you made it on screen or not, for she doesn't even go here. Iconic.
It was a pretty fun experience, although so I was like 16 years old. This is still like it comes up way too often in my life. um, but I was like 16, I was an extra. I was in there's a handful of scenes in there that people still will call me and be like, "Am I imagining or did I just see it in Mean Girls?" I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty much yes." One day I will do something that is more notable than that, but
You
as
will
of yet,
do more things that are more notable than that, but like that is just one of the most millennial iconic moments in time. And like so much so they had to make a musical and then like make a sequel. Like, come on.
yeah, I know it just keeps going. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. And I wish I knew who Tina Fey was at the time because it would have been a lot more fun.
I think that
But I
that's even
didn't.
my more favorite part. But like as teenagers, did we really know who Tina Fey was? And we really shouldn't have been watching Saturday Night Live. So
I was definitely not allowed to watch Saturday Night Live at that point. So yeah, I think I knew who Lindsay Lohan was because I think Freaky Friday had come out before that. So I had some reference, but the rest of them were kind of like, I have no idea who you
I
are. And
mean,
then they all blew up.
Lindsay Lohan's like close to our age. When
Yeah.
did Mean Girls come out?
Like 2005, 2006, like 20 years ago, something like
Um,
that. We're a little
when
bit too old.
did
Mhm.
Mean Girls come out? It came out 20 days after my 14th birthday.
Yeah, yeah, there
Yeah,
you
I
go.
mean, and that about covers what high school felt like.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the first message or the first thing that I had seen on your page was something about personal brand because you do brand strategy, right?
Yes, I do brand strategy for women.
Yes.
That is what I do.
Yes, and so it was something about, personal brand and, like, as sort of energy, like the energy that precedes you into a room. And I just thought that was, like, a really interesting way to look at it and think about it because I also, like, I mean, if you look at anything that I put online, which is not a lot, to be honest, but I very much struggle with having, like, first of all, making a choice of, like, what do my brand for in terms of a brand look or aesthetic.
Yeah.
But, like, half the time I feel like I wanna show up more polished, and half the time I'm like, "I just have an idea, and I'm just gonna put on my camera, and I look like garbage. I have no makeup, and I'm just gonna talk." And, like, is that a brand? I don't know. But I like this idea of personal brand being energy, that just, like, whatever you look like, wherever you are, it's kind of just showing up with your thoughts and, having a conversation and just being present and yeah, so I don't know, like, what your thoughts are about that, but I really just appreciated that post, and that was one of the first I think that was the first one that I saw, and I was like, "There's something about this woman," then we started chatting a little bit, and I was like, "Hmm, yeah."
And then I just came out the gate being like, I'm in bed.
Yeah,
So
that would solidified it, yes.
so then you knew I was like real. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't a joke. Yes, I don't I have a lot of beef with anybody who's like, "Oh, your brand, like your logo and like the colors that you use, like it's such a tiny part of it. Is it important?" Yes. I personally, when doing projects for people, if I'm changing their colors, I pick colors that work within their season.
Mm,
I went to school for fashion marketing. I went to
nice.
school for psychology. So those two things, though they sound so different, actually are very rooted in similarities. And so I like to pick colors for women that are going to like make their skin glow and like show them in the best light. But you could change your colors 100 times and it's really a consistent message that's going to make sense and how you deliver that message. So there's going to be days where I show up way more polished and say like the message. There's gonna be days where I'm like, listen, I'm like, I recorded something yesterday where I was like, you just need to name the damn baby. And like, you just have good lighting. Like,
Yeah.
it's vague as hell. So it's, I think it really comes down to, I've taught this a variety of ways. And I don't have a whiteboard that doesn't have words on it right at the moment. So I can't just pull it out and just be like, yeah, see this? Like all these diagrams. But I really do look at branding. I one time worked at an agency and it's no longer a creative agency anymore. It's a tech agency, but the owner, he would say, it's where marketing, finance, and operations intersect. And then I really took that. I was like, well, it's really like the soul of the business. And that is an energetic thing. And that's why it's hard to give ROI to brand. But brand is going to be more strategic than it is going to be like marketing, like you do, which is going to be running the tactics of that strategy. So if we ran tactics without strategy, like we could be running in place the opposite direction for years and it gets us nowhere. Or if we have something that guides us that is like always like running true and can shift and morph, like we all grow up, um, then those tactics have somewhere to go with.
Mhm.
And it's, you can't really have one without the other. Like we've watched brands fizzle out as like one person's post yesterday said on a poll. And then like we can throw tons of money into marketing and it means nothing because it goes away because there's no soul to it. And so that's why they are sometimes interchangeably used. They are not the same damn thing. And it is you, somebody I talked to yesterday, a girlfriend of mine who just shout out to Kristen, whose episode of oh my gosh, Kristen, don't kill me. I promise I know what I'm talking about, but here we are just being a wild one who can't remember anything. Fuzzy brain um is okay. in my defense, everybody, it just came out. So it is
We'll find it. We'll drop a link.
we're gonna drop a link. I actually just posted about it today, so that's why I'm trying to go look for it. Oh,
The podcast or like
she actually it's on YouTube,
oh
and
yeah.
she does such an amazing job, and that's why I want to bring its attention. You're gonna all go to my page. You're gonna go find like two posts back, and it's with Kristen Belden, and she is one of the most incredible women strategists for like high level leaders. But even she was saying, she's like, you just don't talk about it like everybody else does.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
everybody else is wrong, but like we can argue about that later.
Obviously. Yeah.
Like every time I'm like, stop putting lipstick on the pig, everybody. You're lying.
Yeah. Yes, yes. That and, like, I think your stance of, like, being very, like, anti-bro marketing and, like, just coming at it from a totally different direction, which we also, like, bonded over, just hatred of bro marketing.
Yeah,
Um,
you don't want to like sit there and ram 100 emails down somebody's throat while posting all the time and like not meaning what you say and like, yeah, follow me and subscribe for more. Like, no.
yeah, yeah. But it's like, how do you understand what they're trying to do, but they get focused on like a certain tactic and style of like being sort of more aggressive about marketing. But if you have, something genuine to offer, and you really believe that you can help people, and that is your goal in your core, in your soul, like you want to do good in the world. How do you how do you go about that in a way that feels not salesy? I mean, ultimately, yes, if you're running a business, like there's going to be an element of sales to it. But like, I connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn and I try to start sort of conversations that are sort of organic and like natural. It doesn't always come. I will say it's never happened the way it's happened, like talking to you. I was just like, there's something different here. But like so many times, even just like saying hi, people are like, no. I'm like,
No,
what did I
what?
do? Like they just like no, they like think that if you're connecting on LinkedIn and they don't know you, that you're gonna sell them something. I'm like, and I
Well,
don't blame them because there's a lot of that out there.
yeah,
But like,
there's a lot of pitch slapping happening in the
yeah,
DMs.
yeah.
It's exhausting. I actually had a girlfriend who I was talking to the other day, and um, we were talking about how to make the next launch of something go better. And she has an incredible following on LinkedIn. She gets so many comments, and like she's such a beautiful, authentic human being. And like it broke my heart when she was like nobody signed up, and I was like, what? I go,
Mhm,
well, for me, it was timing because I had signed up for something else, but it in the same breath, I was like, hey, like, what does your DM strategy look like? And she's like, oh, I don't want to do that because I hate getting DMs from people. And I go, but it's different if somebody's already liked your post or commented on your post to say, like, what did you like about it? Do you know somebody who might be interested? Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be them and be like, here's the link, buy it. I
mhm.
think that people, there's so many silly courses, so many LinkedIn Bibles. So, also, why are we referring to anything here? And like we're hitting that point where everything feels so fake that things like this don't happen very often.
Mhm,
um and it it's scary because of bro marketing has made things that could be genuine marketing scary
yeah.
and hated and like looked down upon. Like marketing is a four-letter word, sales is a four-letter
Mhm,
word. Like real great sales, like if you're interacting with an incredible salesperson, it doesn't feel like they're selling, they're helping guide you to a decision. That's all that should be happening. No
mhm,
convincing, that's when it feels icky. It should just be like, hey, I'm going to ask you these series of questions for you to make the best decision for you. And like if I think that it's not the best decision for you, i I simply, Tara, like I would
yeah.
not offer it. I would just be like, hey, this isn't for you. Here's why. Here might be some better options to solve the actual problem.
Mhm,
Uh, and so, we've done this like shove it like attitude towards things, and it makes it hard for purpose driven anything to want to do it because it's so out of scope for how they operate.
Mhm.
And like in a world of AI, which I really want you to touch on this, but I'm gonna tee it up. In a world of AI where we can AI generate literally almost anything as it comes to content. And I love AI, but we see so many people who are like, you used AI, like that M dash, and all of us copywriters in the world are like, we were M dashing before this, like
Yeah.
machine
There
like
is
no
a
one is.
legitimate grammatical use of it.
Yeah, like it's a thing, and you took away my M dash, damn it. But it's it's so wild because like AI is basically whatever your input is going to almost equate to what your output is. So if you put shit in, you're gonna get shit out. Like that's just a fact. And when we look at that, and then we have AI generated videos, yet we're supposed to be on these platforms to connect, and that's what these platforms are feeding us and approving for us. So like now it's like go live and it's going to boost the algorithm, like add collaborators on Instagram and it's gonna like boost the algorithm, like comment on everything and all the things, even if it's a shitty comment. And it's so apparent that we just want humanity in it and authenticity, because watching this video, for whoever decides to sit and watch this video, you're watching our micro expressions, even if you're not aware of that fact. You're watching it to see, are they telling the truth? Are they being real? Are they human? It's why you will sit and watch reels with a person versus a AI generated one. It's it's those things that we crave that people are so afraid AI is going to take away from them. So,
Mhm.
your turn. Talk about what you
So I'm an AI specialist.
do. Hmm.
But I think like I am very much a big, big proponent of human first AI. I don't agree with using AI to take over the thinking for us in terms of coming up with content and like writing everything that you put out. I think a lot of people just default to like they go to ChatGPT and they're like, I need to post about this, and ChatGPT makes it, and they change a word or two and kind of put it out, and we end up seeing like the same posts basically over and over from different people. It's like you both neither of those then feels authentic because while I am an advocate for using AI, I think there's a good way to use it and there's a wrong way to use it. And offloading the thinking, that the thought, and the ideas behind what you're putting out there to AI is the absolute wrong way to use it. But if we can think of AI as a tool that enhances and strengthens what we're able to do, and helps us be better able to communicate the ideas that we have, and in a way that's more clear to the audience we're trying to reach. And sometimes, that is something that a lot of people struggle with. You could have an idea, but when you say it, just based on the words that you're choosing and the way that you're phrasing it, the context that it's in, the people that you're trying to reach, it doesn't land the way you think it will. And so AI is an incredible tool for, giving us a bit of insight into like how we can reframe our thoughts to actually achieve our intention, right? But it's got to start with human first. It's got to start with like your ideas, your input, your thought leadership, your energy, your like, what are you doing in the world? What do you care about? What do you do? Who do you do it for, and why? What makes you different? And it's got to start from there, and then AI can help us shape it for like a different platform, if there's slightly different formats that work, because of things like algorithms or whatever. But ultimately, the core of your ideas should be your own. And that's sort of the foundation of everything that I do in the AI space, is getting people to work with these tools in a way that doesn't remove them from it, but in fact inserts them strategically into the process. And so, one of the primary things I do is build custom GPTs. So you just use it inside ChatGPT, but instead of going to a normal blank window like most people do, to
Like,
put in your
yeah, I was
prompts.
gonna say they do it way too frequently.
Yeah. Yeah. So you go to, we build these custom GPTs, and it starts from having a 2-hour conversation, and we do a deep dive into, whether it's a person for like a personal bot, personal GPT, or whether it's for a company or business. We do a deep dive into who you are, what you do, who you do it for, why, what makes you different. Um, we build sort of a stack of your core training documents basically around your offers, your personas, who's the ideal person you want to work with. Capture all the it's a marketing 101 stuff really, but it
Yeah.
kind of captures it, and we go a little bit deeper even to getting the person to really talk about, if it's a founder, let's say,
Mhm.
their background, their why, their experience that got them to where they are, the stories, the struggles, the pain, the humanity behind what they're doing, right? And so we capture all of this and we build out this training stack, and we train an AI bot on you and your business. And we also go away and do some market research and pull that in so we understand your competitors and the space that you're operating in, all of that sort of stuff. Anything like a business consultant would need to help you make decisions. So we build this bot that's now trained on as much as we can glean from your mind and your business. And you can use it as like a strategic partner. You can brainstorm with it. You can get it to give you some content ideas. But even when it's helping you with ideas, it's like its ideas are coming from your ideas. If that makes sense. It's like
No, it makes
so
total sense.
grounded.
I too have like my own, and so
Yeah.
I don't.
So yeah,
Sorry,
you
chat.
get it. You get it. You get it. Yeah.
We broke
And
up, sorta.
you broke it. Yeah.
But no, to your
But
point,
yeah.
like it matters. I mean, I use ChatGPT to really filter my ideas. I
Mhm.
personally also believe that it is a human first thing, and sometimes I'm long winded, so I need it to
Yeah.
condense what I'm saying. And then I'll even fight it. Like
Yeah.
I made a joke yesterday on a video that I made. It's not out yet, everybody, because some of us are hyper editors. Um, but I even made like a joke at the end of it. Was like, no, like alchemist something or other, because I don't know why ChatGPT really likes the word alchemist. It's
Yeah.
awful. And I was like, that's not a niche.
Yeah.
It's just ChatGPT going on a rant. Like, stop it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Like it comes out with things that you're like, well, you gotta, yeah, stay on it. But yeah, I think definitely like figuring out how to use it strategically like that, and making sure that it's amplifying you and you're not amplifying, the BS that it's coming up with from who knows where on the internet. That's like what it thinks you want to hear, right?
I mean, it's mostly built by men.
Yeah. And there's incredible bias in like AI
Oh,
tools, and you got
yeah.
to really consciously like work around it and be aware of it at the very least,
Yeah.
to avoid that.
It's
Um,
it's things people I said that once in a conversation, and they were like, how is it possibly racist? And I was like, well, if a racist person helps build it, or somebody who has unconscious bias builds it, it's
yeah,
going to be filtered in. It
yeah,
doesn't build itself, and then it starts to stream off of all those other insights that are being plugged into it.
yeah,
So it's not rock this isn't rocket science,
yeah,
but the building of it probably was. So I don't
yeah,
want to like downplay their
yeah,
intelligence. Like it took a large amount of brain power to build something like this.
yeah,
But at the same time, we need to be mindful of like who was building it. And that doesn't mean that whoever built it, if you ever hear this, see this, like I do not believe like full heartedly that you are racist. I think that's a very bold claim to make. I have no idea who you are. But in that space though, we need to remember that everybody has unconscious bias, us included on this call,
mhm,
anybody listening to this. And those things start to filter in. And it's not something you're going to fully fix, bluntly. It's also something I don't know that you should fully fix unless it's being harmful to another person, because that is also, it's one of those things that makes you who you are. And if we were everything to everybody, like y'all, we'd be Play-Doh.
yeah,
Like, and so it's okay, but I think we all need to understand and have awareness of where it can be harmful. And I
for
just
sure.
don't think that we talk about that often enough.
Yeah. And and until I think you shine a light on it, like we are not aware of our own biases, right?
Mhm.
Until, something or someone illuminates like what we're missing. We don't know what we don't know, right? Well, actually, even for example, so I
Yeah.
don't know how do you identify
Oh, great question.
from a race perspective?
Everything, almost everything.
Everything
I am
makes sense.
Black, white, Native American.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
when I like first came across your page, I had no idea. Like I just assumed you were white, to be honest. Like I just
I
based
did.
on
I
your
tan white
yeah,
girl on a regular basis.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was actually this morning. I think I had scrolled back a little bit further and there was a post you had done about
Oh,
y-
yeah.
yeah, so it was something like a
Uh,
white woman had like twisted your words
mhm.
around something, right? And I was like, hang on, she's not white. Neither am I. My mother is half black. My grandfather is black. I am
Same.
like the pastiest person.
My
But
sister's lighter than you.
yeah. But I was like, that is, and I had made an assumption about you, and people make the assumption about me all the time. But it's interesting to like, you move through the world and we talk about bias and how, these things like impact us and how we not treat people differently necessarily, but it does like, you have an impression of somebody. And then, and when I saw your stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, like should we everything? I honestly, every time I see something more about you, I'm like, we are the same.
Well, we're both a
But
quarter black.
we
Let's
are,
have
yeah.
that conversation. That, I like I said, my sister's much lighter than you.
Really?
And I'm the oldest of six, so like
Oh my
I think I'm
goodness,
the
yeah,
second darkest out of the six of us.
yeah.
And my boyfriend's also a quarter.
Mm,
He's lighter than I am. And
mm,
so it's my little guy is half Asian in everything I am. And we're
yeah,
like the same shade. So like you can't my sister has faced this and you've probably faced it similarly. Like I said, sometimes I just get, are you a tan white girl? I have my mother's face.
right, yeah.
Um and Mariah, she'll hear like people will say really like off colored things, especially during the time of Black Lives Matter, like completely off colored things.
Mhm,
And then she'll look at them and she goes, do you guys keep forgetting who my dad is? Because my sister's an attorney, my dad is a judge in the same state.
mhm.
And she's like, I am black. Like, what? First off, you can't say that, period. But like,
Yeah,
second, like, what are you
yeah,
doing? It's so,
and
it is,
you
yeah,
become
it's wild.
yeah, like, you almost become sort of this fly on the wall because people feel a little bit, more open or more comfortable in expressing their bigotry or
Mm-hmm.
by racism, whatever, in front of you, and they don't realize. And I get it from multiple directions because I'm also gay. Well, I guess I don't know. I mean, I hate labels to be honest, but I'm married to a woman, and I we have two beautiful children, and I don't. People don't think that about me either on first glance. I think I'm sort of white passing, straight passing in a way. But so they say things that you're like, then it puts you in the position of, do you call it out? Do you kind of use that as a gateway in? Because at the same time, I think when people feel that they relate to you, maybe because they think you're also the same
Whatever
race
they
as them
are.
or the same orientation or whatever they are. They tend to listen a bit more. I find that especially with like LGBTQ issues. Like I think because I don't look gay immediately on first glance, people like I've never really experienced homophobia. Wow, this conversation has gone down a whole other road. I've never
It'll get deep very fast. It's fine.
I've never really experienced homophobia directly to my face the way I know so many people have and do and continue to on a regular basis. Especially my like male friends, especially like women who are androgynous or more masculine presenting, they get a lot more blatant homophobia. But like, with my partner and I, the worst that we get is like catcalls. And it's not I'd rather not have that, but it's not the aggression that some people get. But because of that, I think when people get to know us, it's almost like, I don't want to say like a gateway drug, but they're like, okay, now I know somebody who's gay. And because maybe we're, I don't know, like less or more like them in a way, they kind of like
You have to
get
show
on board with it, and they're like,
us
Yeah, I love gay people. They're great," where they would previously would have made like really
even the
off-color
horrible
comments.
comments, like
Yeah.
the worst comments. Like I have so many friends who are gay. I I mean, who in the hell am I to judge? Like I'm so mixed. I don't even know which way's up or
Yeah.
down. And it's it but it's so painful because it's like, you know, there's people who get blatant hate that I will stand in front of them and fight till the death for them because like nobody deserves that level of hate.
Yeah.
And then, to your point, it's like, so we're safe. You and I are
Right.
safe and in
Mm.
these like places of intersection.
Right.
Perceived safe, whatever that means to the other person. We
Yeah.
should really have a deep chat about
Yeah.
childhood and uncover that. But regardless, that is a huge burden for any of us to have to shoulder because now you're like in all jokes, like being a gateway drug for this, but at the same time, the person who is now comfortable with you and like I'm really grateful that you take it with such grace. At the same time, I don't think they think about how harmful
Mm.
even that is in a very
Yeah.
passive micro kind of aggression way.
Mm.
And I remember, oh god, 2020, seriously, I cannot, whenever I'm like super
Oh
super
boy.
old and I get dementia, if I could just forget that, like that this block of time, like I'll be so grateful. um because I don't want to forget my child. But I had somebody message me. I had spoken on a panel with a bunch of Black women, and two of us were mixed, and we're like talking about what that feels like. And somebody messaged me with all good intentions, because let's be honest, everybody has great intentions. They just don't think about the impact that happens after the intention.
Mhm.
And what they said to me was, like, in all of this, are you just not going to claim your white side anymore? And I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, I was literally like, that would be a slap in my mom's face. Like, why would you? Who thinks of these things?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get to just choose and turn an on and off switch in my body to be like, you know what, sounds great. I'm just not gonna be native today.
Yeah. And like people think in these binaries, right? Like you have to be one thing or the other. And then when you're kind of both or neither, they don't know what to do with it. And they're like, well, you must identify. You
Yeah,
must
you
choose.
must identify as X.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
actually never
It's
thought
like
about it until you asked me, and I'm curious as why you're asking me. Like,
and yeah. I never thought about like growing up with, in a mixed race family, honestly, never occurred to
you
me.
do
Like,
don't
and
think about it.
people are like, how is that possible? But you don't think about it until people start asking you about how it felt. And you're like,
I grew up on military
I
bases,
don't,
and so like everybody is like just a hodgepodge of everything.
yeah,
So I really never thought about it until my parents got divorced. And then I
yeah,
was like, why do you care? Like, honestly, I
yeah,
think I asked that question as like an 8-year-old. I was like, but why do you care?
yeah.
And
Um,
it's weird.
yeah, it's so weird. I went, when I was like, sort of, when was this? Been like 2011, maybe. I was in a touring show, a production of a show called The Kink in My Hair, and it like really explored like, basically the lives of these various Black women, and growing up, and explored sort of ideas about race. And there's one white character in the show, which is the role that I auditioned for. And when I was in the audition, the playwright was like, there's something this
You're
you're
not
not
quite.
you're not quite and started asking me about it, and she's like, I think I want you to read this role instead. And she gave me a role, and it was a Black character. And
Yeah.
I was at first very uncomfortable because I'd never moved through the world. I feel like the world doesn't treat me like it treats Black women, right? So, and that's, I think, part of why, where I get uncomfortable with how to identify that way because I think so much of it is not just about blood. I mean, if it was about blood, my very like white Aryan looking children with blonde hair and blue eyes would be sent to a segregated school in apartheid South Africa by the
Yeah.
1/8 rule, right? Like they, so by that standard, they are black as well. But they will never move through the world experiencing the world as black women, right? Like it's because it's about how the world perceives you and treats you. Anyway, so I'm like, how do I take on this role when I don't have that lived experience? I felt really like out of place. And it led to a lot of conversations around race and identity. And like there was a line in it where so this character was like, she grew up and she actually, it turns out, so as I'm reading, so I'm jumping all over the place. I was reading the script on the way home because I left the audition. They were like, come back, next week and read for this other part. So they gave me the script. So I'm like reading it on the subway on the way home, and the woman is actually, it's a gay character, and she was closeted, and she was like just like trying to come out, but she was also in the public eye because she was like a celebrity essentially.
Mhm.
She had grown up and was an actor. And I'm reading it on the way home, like bawling on the subway because the character itself like resonated so deeply with me. And I never would have looked at that character because I didn't think I could play it because I didn't have I didn't feel like I identified as black, even though I'm a quarter, you know. But it resonated so deeply, and I came back to the audition, and I was like just kind of beside myself of like how much this role like really would mean to me. And it was an amazing experience. But there was a line in there where somebody kind of says like, I can't remember the exact scene, but someone says to her like, oh, like what do you think you are, white? And like in the show I had like a big sort of curly wig, and
Yeah.
but I would say 9 times out of 10 performances that line got a laugh from the audience because I look white. Like
Because
they're like, what
like
does
that's
this
how
mean?
people perceive you. It's
Yeah.
it's
So yeah.
you said it, and I'm just gonna like bring clarity to it. Race is a perception thing.
Yeah.
People would not perceive your children as black.
No.
They are technically.
Mhm.
Technically,
Technically.
the world will not perceive my son as black either.
Mhm.
I had to have that conversation with him the other day, though. I was like, it's two different weights to feel the pain because somebody's outwardly going to attack you for it,
Mhm.
and to know that you're not getting attacked for it and it is who you are.
Yeah.
They're two different responsibilities. Mine moves with how much sun is in outside and not. But to
Right.
your point, the picture you were going off before you ever saw me, those pictures were taken in November. We
Mhm.
both live in higher northern places. So, like,
Mhm.
when the sun goes away in Oregon, the sun goes away, and so does
Yeah.
the skin
The
tone.
pigment. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like the longest lasting farce of ridiculousness because we are
Mhm.
all human. And like you said, in mixed families, the hate doesn't exist like this, like it does in the outside world.
Mhm.
And I think the world could learn a few lessons from a lot of mixed families. Or for those of you who are like, mixed, they were not a dog, blah, 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 multiracial. Here we go. Fine. We'll be
Yeah.
PC for you. But like,
Yeah.
I think the message here is just do better.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, do better.
Mhm.
Why is it still a
It's so
conversation
interesting.
in 2025? My girlfriend Sherry can answer that. That's why she wrote a whole book called Qualified. But like, we should do better.
Yep. Yeah, it's so interesting, and I feel like in a lot of ways we're kind of going backwards in many spaces. Um,
Backwards is a nice way to put it. I feel like we have dug a hole
yeah.
and buried ourselves in that hole and are all trying to figure our way back out.
Yeah, yeah.
Meanwhile, there's like a human eating worm finding our way to like
Oh
kill
god.
all of the people. Like
Yeah.
that was a very dark analogy, and I don't know why I used it.
We're going dark here. We're going real deep. I mean, I don't think either of us, I'll speak for myself, had no idea that this is where this conversation would go, but I'm here for it.
I don't even,
Yeah,
I think it's a conversation that needs to be heard. I don't even
yeah.
think that, real talk. how many times have you heard people sit and chat that were multiracial and got deep about what that feels like, and then all their other intersections?
Never.
All right, I rest my case.
Yeah. It's so, like, I mean, to the point that, like, when I was doing that show, you know, the producer and playwright, lovely and talented Trey Anthony, she's amazing. Um, she like, we would have a lot of conversations about this, and she, you know, I think was just always very interested in, like, how it's possible that I could grow up in this family not having conversations about race and not thinking about, like, the fact that my I mean, even my grandfather, he's like dark black, no, like very, very dark skin. And I never grew up thinking that he was anything but grandpa. And I don't mean that in a like, oh, I don't see color. I think it's very important to recognize differences and, you know, like how that impacts our lives and how we treat people and be aware of biases. I think that's important. But it literally was just not a conversation. It just was not anything that occurred to us until outside people were like, but how? Because, you know,
Like, how does
and
that work? And you're like,
yeah,
no, like, this truly, when you were little, had nothing to do with seeing color. It had everything to do with you only saw the person that you loved, and that was it.
right.
And that's just how the person you loved appeared.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with how tall your grandpa was. I
Mhm.
mean, unless he gave like the world's greatest like piggyback rides or like
Yeah.
shoulder rides, because life looks different when you're sitting on the
Yeah.
ground at 6'3". Um, and like, gosh, my family's so diverse. I don't
Mhm.
think there's a single. I have two moms. And my mommy who birthed me. And my stepmom who is no longer with my dad, but like I still call her mom. So
Mhm.
it throws people off.
Yeah.
I'm sure you appreciate how many times people are like, "So are they together?" And I'm like, "No, I like love
Yeah.
my dad too." And I have to explain how many parents I have, which is like a ton. And
Yeah.
my stepmom's Hawaiian. I also, if you didn't know my mom exists, like my real mom, I mean, they're both my real moms. This is such a hard conversation to have trying to
Yeah.
explain this. One day I'll
Yeah.
get clear, everyone. You would assume my stepmom was my mother because she
Mm.
has curly hair. We have the same color eyes. Like, people, and her name is very close to my name.
Mm.
So like my name's Rayland, her name's Raynette. So
Mm.
people just assume I'm hers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And like, don't question it. They don't
Mhm.
question it. And it's so funny because like, so my stepmom is Hawaiian, Portuguese, Japanese, um, a variety of things. So that makes my brother everything I am
Plus.
and all of her.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I have an auntie who is Hispanic, and like it, like I never, to your point, I never noticed until somebody said, "Hey, why are they different?" And you're like, "I don't know. Why are you different?"
Yeah. Yeah. And then,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and some of the questions, it's just it is genuinely out of pure ignorance, and I don't mean that in like, I mean, there's ignorance that is like, you know, stupidity, but then there's ignorance in just that people genuinely don't know because these conversations don't happen very often, and they're just not aware that it's possible to like have somebody who looks like one thing but is some, you know, maybe like it's more complicated than that, you know. And we make a lot of assumptions about people, and even like, so I had a babysitter or like a nanny that was with us for many years when I was growing up. Um, and she is still kind of in our lives. She actually like met my kids a couple of months ago and kind of made a joke. She's like a black woman from Venezuela, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But she like met my girls and made a joke to my mom, like, these aren't your grandkids because they're so blonde and like blue eyed. But like, it's just comments like that that it's hard, you know, she meant it as nothing harmless,
She
but
means
like
nothing harmful, but it's
it's
like,
yeah, yeah.
and we've got to be careful of like the things that we say because they do build up, and like that's
Mhm.
why everybody needs therapy.
Yes,
And
we all do.
it's like I'm dismantling things just from comments made about my appearance that on the surface never felt like bad.
Mhm.
They were never like nobody intentionally tries to like compliment somebody who's pretty and like thinks it's going to create a complex. Like
Right.
that's it's never anybody's intention, and adult me understands that.
Yeah.
But like you have to be careful what you say because like little minds process things different
Yeah.
and then it sticks with them.
Yep.
And then like those are the things that make people question as adults if they don't. Most adults truly do not use their executive functioning in their brain, which doesn't develop until 25, 26. And you, yes, that part of your brain develops, but the reality is you're not going to know how to use it if it was never shown to you growing up.
Mhm.
So if you're surrounded by adults who were emotionally immature and that executive thinking, that part of their brain, they still operate mostly in the emotional part of the brain, well, you're naturally just going to start to duplicate what your parents do unless you are shown a different way. And I mean, it's our responsibility as parents, because I'm not doing this for the rest of the world. I'm not your mom. The rest of y'all figure it out on your own. But like for my guy, it is my responsibility to show him how that works and like talking him through it. And yes, I get it. Gray doesn't fully understand right now. He's 8, but he understands more than we think he does.
Yeah.
And it shows when his teachers are like, oh yeah, no, like he's like the most empathetic kid, and like it's wild, and he will like do these things, or when we talk to him about a book he starts associating things that have nothing to do with what happened in the book. And my child is not a straight A student at all. um and we're working towards that, but it shows how intelligent he is and that I have full faith. I always say like I think he's going to make an incredible adult one day, but
Mhm.
that's on us as parents to get them to that point and recognize in what ways the adults, and not necessarily our parents, but like all the adults around us and society shaped us and how we need to change it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in today's society, it seems some folks don't want to do that.
Who are
So
you talking about?
I don't know. Dear Congress, get your shit together.
Yeah, and, like, to your point about saying, nobody makes a comment, like, that they perceive as a compliment, like saying a girl is beautiful or, like, saying something that they think is positive, and thinks that that could have a negative impact, but, like, I have three-year-old twins, girls, and they get commented on all the time when we're out in public. Like constantly, everybody's like, "Oh, the curls! Oh, they're so cute! Oh, they're," and they'll even directly to them like, "Oh, I love your dress. It's so pretty." And one of them said to me the other day, "Mommy, I don't like it when people tell me that I'm pretty." She's 3,
Yep.
but it makes them uncomfortable. And it's like, those people don't mean anything by it. They think, they're nice and they're like, they see something that they like and they want to comment on it. But by commenting on appearances, like especially like young women, we grow up to kind of associate that with our identity and our value. And even at that age, like she felt that was uncomfortable by the attention. And people don't think about it like that.
No,
Yeah.
they definitely don't. And they really don't mean any harm. Like, but the harm is there because as I've been working through this, it makes you feel othered. It
Mhm.
makes you, in some cases, feel like if this were to go away, would people still love me? Like, and that's the extreme side of it, right? And
Yeah.
similar to them, like it started at very little, and it last story before we
Oh,
tie
we've
this.
been talking for almost an hour.
I
Hello to
know,
anyone who's still
wild.
here.
Um, I was working through this
Yeah.
on the note of therapy, and it was like, well, when's the first time you really remembered this? And I was like, I remember moments being very little, like your girls had, but the one that really triggers me and always will is in 7th grade we had a Holocaust survivor come talk to the entire 7th grade class. So, and the story I remember was heartbreaking, and I will never forget that moment. And our children may never see that because there won't be anybody alive who survived by that point. but our teachers, bless all their hearts, wrote every single seventh grader like a nice message to give to each one of us. And
Mm.
every kid around me got a message about like you're incredibly talented at basketball, like your musical ability is like through the roof. You're really great at theater. Like, wow, it's so impressive that you're first chair in band. Like, whatever it was, it had to do with like their intelligence, their skills, their these things. And mine, on the surface, you would say, wow, so nice. Like, I can't believe you got that. And like, I'm sure somebody would have been like, I would have loved that. Hated it. It said, you're um, as kind as you are beautiful. And I was like, why can't we just say I'm like a super kind person?
Yeah.
And I mean, and I'm not, I like at the time I was first chair in band. I like what I've always been a 4.0 student, like a lot of these things. And I was like, wow, I can't be anything without this attached to it. And that was really hard. And it
Yeah.
like we have to, especially for women, like we have to make them feel empowered at a very young age if we're going to change the trajectory of what we've been experiencing. And we're probably one of the first groups of women, as far as a generation goes, that's like, hell no, I'm empowered, but we have to fight it at every turn.
Mhm.
And we have to switch the narrative. We've got to remember women couldn't sign for credit cards um, on their own, at least in the States, until about the time you were born. Because, like, best guess is you're 2 years older than me based on our Mean Girls conversation. Um, that that is like wild to think about.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Wild.
crazy. It's very recent history. I mean, even like, my mom was born to a mixed race family. Like her dad was black, her mom was white,
Mm-hmm.
in the early 60s. If we had lived in the States, like, it wouldn't have happened. She would not exist.
Well,
Probably.
maybe my family
Maybe.
did mix in slavery.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So, like, but it
Yes.
wouldn't have been a good feeling.
Wouldn't have been a good feeling. Yeah. And it would have been a much harder, I think, for them, depending where you live. It's definitely different. And Canada, I think, was not as segregated, though I'm sure there was still a lot of like rampant racism.
Which
Um,
state to where you live?
yeah.
Underground Railroad, anyone?
Yes, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's just a matter of like very slight geography shift, and our worlds would be very different, and we take some things for granted. And I don't think even my mom, I mean, she's fairly light skinned as well, but I don't think she even grew up really experiencing or doesn't remember or doesn't talk about it if she does. It's like blatant kind of overt racism. But it's, I guess
Your
it's
mom
there.
is probably one of the only ones, if you think about it. Like I remember
Hmm.
being one of the only mixed kids in class.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure she was.
Yeah.
But the
Now
funny thing is, you probably ask her now, she probably identifies as white, to be honest. Like she's like very, I don't, it's so interesting.
it's
Just
because it's probably safe.
yeah,
I think that like, and I'm sure people will shame us for saying like that's a safe choice.
it
But
maybe. And I don't even know if it was a choice or she just we talk about this too, and we'll we'll
we're gonna
stop
have like a
rambling
part
here.
two
We'll
of
have
like,
another
what does
part
it
two.
feel like to be
Yeah,
multiracial?
yeah. Because her brother, I think if you ask the two of them without any prep or any like without thinking about it, just off the cuff, I think she would probably identify as white and her brother would identify as black. They have the same parents.
Same
But
parents.
yeah,
My dad is mixed. He identifies as black. My mom's white native. She identifies as white.
yeah.
Like
Interesting.
because they force us to fill in radio buttons to say
Yeah,
what we are. It's
exactly. Yeah.
I fought in the I remember I fought in the fourth or fifth grade. Like fought them. I was like, well, I don't know what to check because I want more things. Well, you just need to check what like you need to check this box. I was like, but that's not true. And I fought and I fought and I fought, and my mom had to be called into the principal's office. And they weren't expecting to see my mom because my mom is white, blonde hair, blue eyed, like
Yeah.
so. And they were like, "Oh, she wasn't wrong." And she goes, "Yeah, why'd you tell her she wasn't?"
Yeah.
like, people, like
They just, yeah, they don't know. They
we
don't
are
know.
doing better. but we have a long way to go.
We got a long way to go. So I love that this is kind of where our talk about authenticity went, though,
It got
because
real authentic.
it got real authentic. But yeah, I mean, I hope there's more conversations like this that happen, and even just carrying on what we've been talking about. I think there's so many layers to identity, and who you are as your authentic self, and who you feel you are, and how you want to show up. And society wants to make us tick boxes and fit into these molds. Like, am I a polished brand person, or am I like a roll out of bed in my sweats and turn on a camera person when I want to kind of show up for
Oh my
the
God,
online space? Like,
I'm
what?
about to throw a fake baby shower, so
Yes, I don't know what that means, but I love it.
you probably will love it for your love of theater. And
Yeah.
I still have a bunch of props I have to make. And I'm like,
Oh my
why
gosh.
do we have to show up so many different ways? Like, I just,
I don't
no,
know.
we can
We
show up
we
so many
can.
different
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
Not why. Like, we can. So why do we have to do it like everybody wants us to do it? So
And pick something
exhausting.
that's like, yeah, I think the thing, and you would know this in the branding world, it's like people want you to pick something that is memorable and sticks, because people don't immediately understand what you are. They have a hard time associating you with the thing that you do or that you want them to know you for, right?
Yeah.
Like, people have a hard time like bringing complexities together. They want to understand it fast and be like, I get it, I
And
need you, or I don't need you. And yeah,
yeah, I mean, to extent they need to. Like, people need
yeah.
to know. I always use this analogy. It's like, do you want to be the fork in the silverware drawer, or do you want to be the random thing that's at the bottom of the junk drawer in somebody's mind?
Hmm.
And you can be complex. You could be like really fancy silverware, but and that's
I like
okay.
that.
But we
Yeah.
need to be able to put you in the silverware drawer in the brain, not, when
Yes.
it's time to rebrand, like, who you gonna call? Not Ghostbusters. Like, you better call Raylan Logan. Um, but
Yeah,
it's
I like that.
understanding those layers. And I mean, honestly, that is my entire job in life, is to understand people's layers and like pull out what is going to resonate with their audience.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
job.
powerful. People need it. We all need it.
Well, because it helps,
And
because then you can make like your AI brand bots a lot easier if somebody can pull out all of the mess.
yeah, pull out the mess and yeah, streamline it. And I think with AI too, it can be a great tool for like acting as a mirror and helping us kind of sort through the things that we really care about and the things that will resonate. But it's, yeah, it's complex. Uh, don't just offload it to to AI brains to decide who you are, but you got to decide who you are. And then as you sort through the muddle of it, there's tools and there's amazing people like yourself who can shine a light.
Whose whole job is
Yeah,
to
yeah,
unravel the spaghetti, so to speak.
unravel it. Yeah, we need that external, I think, force. It's hard to see ourselves. We know ourselves, but we know all the complexities of ourselves, and it's hard to distill things for other people when in terms of what you want to show up with first and how to be
And that's
remembered.
and that is and that is the brand work. Yeah.
Yep.
Way to put that
Yep.
into words.
Yeah,
Alrighty, my friend.
we'll work on it.
This has been way too much fun. I
Amazing.
have to
Yes.
hop for a podcast, actually.
Yes, likewise.
Of
We've been talking for an hour. I've loved it. It was, yeah, thank you. And
course.
I love this experiment. I was like we said in the beginning, we had never met before, 2 minutes before we jumped on this call. And look how far we got. We just rambled for an hour and got super deep. And if anyone is queuing in now, there was a long conversation about like race and identity and all kinds of things that is very worth tuning into.
I
So
don't even, I know I made a comment like, well, count left turns. I lost them. I lost
lost
them. I think
them
we made like
here.
4 boxes, everybody. So
Yeah.
here we have it.
Here we have it. All
Alrighty.
right.
Talk
We'll
soon.
talk soon. Bye.
Bye.